Hey everybody, it's Catherine V. Holmes from How to Draw Cool Stuff. Today I want to experiment with watercolors with you. We're going to do this wet on wet technique, or wet in wet, some people like to say, to create a profile using some cool blendy colors. I'll show you how to do this one in just a few moments. First, let me show you the paper that I'm using today, my favorite Canson XL watercolor paper. It's nice and sturdy. It's got some thickness to it if you can hear it. I found this on the internet, little Google search, and this came up when I put in silhouette face. And a little bit different than what I was expecting, but I really liked it because it's very simple. A lot of white, but what we're going to do is have some bleeding colors happening in here. So somehow draw this or transfer it onto your paper, which I have done, and you may not be able to see that because it's so light. And then we're going to put some water down. So this is just clean water. I'll probably use a smaller brush because there's some detail happening here. But I'm just going over this with water only. This is the first part of the wet in wet technique. And it's important to outline very lightly because you don't want those pencil lines to show through later. So I'm going to go ahead and take my black, just touch it to this wet. Maybe pull it through a tiny bit, but it will, or it should, spread on its own to do this really cool kind of blendy looking thing. Try again over here. Usually it just kind of spills and takes over, but every painting is different. A little bit of water. Taking care to stay inside my lines, because wherever the water goes, the paint will eventually go. There we go, a little swirly thing happening. Just touch it on there, and try not to play with it too much because it's going to do its own thing and look pretty neat. Here's where it gets a little bit difficult, when you need to be pretty precise. I'm going to go ahead and put my water in this little eye outline. Leave a little spot for the white highlight. And it's important to work somewhat quickly because even though it is watercolor paper, it will only stay wet for so long. So I'm being as precise as I can while being as quick as I can to fill in these areas. Ooh, look at that, cool. Just kind of pulling it through. The goal is to have it be dark in some areas, light in others, have a swirly, fun, painterly look to it. When this dries, I would probably go around this a little bit more to make certain areas stand out. But for now, this is pretty good. And again over here, just putting the clean water down. The more I use this water, the less clean it will be. So feel free to get up and change your water at any time. And we'll just go ahead and toss that in there again. And let the bleed happen. You can come up with some really nice effects. So for the nose, keep it very slight. Sometimes people have a tendency of overdoing noses. I'm just going to do a teeny bit of nostril, teeny tiny hint of the shape of the nose, and then I'm going to go for the lips. Oops. Almost forgot to put my water down first. I was so excited to get to this part because I am going to put color here. So take your time with this. There's no need to rush it. It is watercolor paper, so it will stay wet for a little bit. Be precise. And do it in sections too. If you have large areas that you need to put water on, I would definitely do sections. But this is small enough that I could probably get it in one sitting. Okay, now that I've got my water down, I'm gonna go ahead with my color. Yeah, check that out. Gorgeous. That's the color. Maybe a little red, I don't know. Maybe not. Later when this dries, I might go inside with a little bit of pencil to just have those teeth show up a tiny bit. Even while it's wet, it might pull the paint through a little bit, which is kind of cool. This is a good idea to use as a very precise paintbrush. If you can't get a fine paintbrush, use the tip of a pencil to push around your paint if you want to. And that's, I don't know, I'm liking that. I'm gonna leave it as is. Okay, so next one is my lady with the big hair. Same thing. I'm gonna go ahead with a bigger brush. I'm gonna switch out my water just to keep it a little clean. And we'll start off just filling in this area. A little bit of lash. I am going to leave a tiny little sliver of white for my ear. And I am doing this in sections because this one is pretty big. So I'm just going to do this one in sections. And let the bleed happen. Liquid watercolor works really well for this as well. I'm going to go around this little section for earring. And again, I don't want to swirl it up too much because I want to get a painterly look to it. When this dries, it'll be sort of swirly and interesting, cool stuff happening. Maybe take a little bit extra and put some texture in here. And I'm going to have it fade out as it goes towards the back of the head. So again, going around that earring. This is just the first layer. You could do so much more with other layers if you wanted to. So I might just do a cool little swirly, something like that, and then just have this lead out into it. Look what's happening with the eye. That's kind of cool. I forgot to leave a little eye hole. I was going to leave a little space, a little triangle. That's all right. I kind of like it like this.